Hello again. Love from Miami. This is Ken, back at you in beautiful Hollywood, Florida, which I'm at the Miami Hard Rock, which is called the Miami Hard Rock, even though it's in Hollywood. So, I just came up from, just flew in from St. Martin yesterday, where I spent a week with Kate, and you can see the videos we put up over there, which it wasn't actually a week, it was 5 days, because I had no idea that Kate was in St. Martin. I thought she was in Europe. I met Kate last October, and we used to hang out in St. Martin when I would go to St. Martin. I have been using Miami as kind of a hub since July of last year, so for about 13 months now, just flying into the islands, or maybe taking a cruise or two, or going down into Central America or Bogota since July of last year. And I always, well, you always get a good room in Miami, no doubt about that, but very often the Hard Rocks here in Hollywood, which is called Hard Rock Miami, the Hard Rock in Hollywood or the Hard Rock in Tampa will give you just very impressive suites. And that's what I got yesterday. And I can't tell you how many days after a long travel day that I've been surprised by a Hard Rock, either here in Miami or in Tampa, with a very impressive suite. And this is a very nice one. It has an outdoor hot tub on the balcony. So I'm going to put up a video of this room on the other channel, It's Like Maverick, and you can check out the room on that channel later. Anyway, so yeah, I've known Kate for, well, since last October, and we've done a lot of hanging out and other things. In the meantime, we went to Europe last February 28th. Well, we met in Punta Cana on February 28th, and then flew into Madrid, and then went to Barcelona and stayed there, and then Nice and stayed in Nice, and then we moved on to San Remo and got an apartment for a month in San Remo and just kind of stayed there and visited places like Genoa and went to Monte Carlo like almost every day. So you can check out, we put up videos of what we did this time in St. Martin on the other channel, the It's Like Maverick channel. So I'm thinking I'm just going to go and relax in St. Martin for a week, and on day 2 I go out and I buy a shirt and run around town a little bit, and when I come back, going into my hotel room, I hear a voice behind me on this side, "Ken." I turn around, and it's Kate, which I had no idea she was there. She surprised me, and I said, "How did you know I was here? How did you know I was at this specific hotel?" "It's my secret," she says. So you can watch the video. We did some horseback riding, we went to a beach club, and we did some other things. So you can watch that video on YouTube's It's Like Maverick channel. Okay. The subject of today's lecture: how can the Republican Party absolutely destroy the Democratic Party and drive them into the ocean where they belong? First thing you may want to do is look at when the Republican Party had the most success. Duh, you think so? You think maybe when the Republican Party, you think maybe you'd want to go back to doing what you were doing when you had the most success, when you were like probably the most successful political party in history? You think you might want to look at that history? Look at the history of when the Republican Party was successful and when it has become an abject failure that it is today. From 1952 to 1988, you want to count up the landslides that Republican presidents buried Democratic opponents in? 1952, 1956, 1972, 1980, 1984, 1988. Landslide elections. Absolute disasters for the Democratic Party. Complete electoral triumphs for the Republican Party. Richard Nixon got 62% of the freaking vote. Ronald Reagan, 60% of the freaking vote. In a three-way race, he got over 50% between Anderson and Carter and Reagan. Over 50. He crushed Carter by 10 points. In 1984, he gets 60% of the vote. What is wrong with the Republican Party? You're going to find out what's wrong with the Republican Party at the end of this video. You count 52, 56, 60, 64, 68, 72, 76, 80, 84, and 88. That's 10 elections if you can count. 6 times absolute landslides. How many times did the Democrats win? 3 out of 10 elections. They won 3 out of 10 elections. One was 1960, and I think almost every single historian will tell you that in 1960, Richard Nixon really won. 1960 and 1976 were unbelievably close. The Democratic Party in those 10 elections got to 51% in 10 elections exactly once in 1964. Exactly once. Carter didn't make it to 51%. He had just barely over 50%. Same for Kennedy, even with the cheating, even with the stolen election, he didn't make it to 51%. So what was the Republican Party doing during those 10 elections when they won 7 and 6 in absolute blowouts? We'll get to that in a minute. First, we'll ask what's went wrong since 1992, 1996, 2000, 2004, 2008, 2012, 2016, 2020, 2024. 9 freaking elections. In 9 elections, the Republican Party has won exactly 2 times the popular vote. They've won, the Republican Party in 2 times, exactly 2 times in 9 elections has won the popular vote. What happened? What happened to the Republican Party? Neoconservatism is what happened to the Republican Party. Right down the middle. It was the beginning of the wars that neoconservatism brought. America is a conservative peace country, like all republics are. We had conservative peace presidents in Nixon and Reagan and Eisenhower, and they brought electoral success. Eisenhower was elected in 1952, promising to end the war in Korea in 6 months. He promised America, I will end the war in 6 months. It took him 8 because the communist Chinese were trying to take advantage of his promise. But he did it. He barreled through and he ended that war. And America awarded him with another landslide. They gave him 1 landslide for the promise and a 2nd landslide for keeping that promise. In 1968, Nixon campaigned on a plan to end the Vietnam War. He was elected on the basis of that promise. He kept that promise, and Americans awarded him for keeping that promise with the greatest landslide in American history. 62% of the freaking vote. Ronald Reagan promised peace. Did people ever listen to the words Ronald Reagan spoke? Every time Reagan opened his mouth, the words that came out of his mouth were peace. He did not make a statement about foreign policy without the first word being peace. 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 Peace through strength. What the hell do people think that means? Peace, in that sentence, if you want to diagram that sentence, if you want to dissect that sentence, peace is the objective. Strength is the means. Peace through strength. I'm going to keep this nation at peace. He comes into stupid-ass Jimmy Carter playing stupid-ass games with Iran, with the CIA and the embassy, and the nation is not at peace. But he promises to bring peace, and he brings it. He does it. And what do? They award him with 2 landslides, really. 1988 was really a referendum on Reagan. That was a landslide given to Reagan for keeping the nation at peace. 84 and 88, Reagan kept the nation at peace. In the entirety of Reagan's 8 years, the entirety of his 8 years, American troops were involved in combat operations for exactly 1 day in Grenada. We had 3 conservative peace presidents, and the Republican Party dominated politics. In 1989, with the election of George Bush, the wars began with the invasion of Panama for whatever stupid-ass reason. And ever since then, we've had Republican war presidents doing stupid-ass wars for stupid-ass other countries instead of keeping America at peace. How important is your country to you? Do you want to see this country destroyed by Democrats? Oh, yes you do. And I know you do, because you keep going along with the neoconservatives and their stupid-ass foreign wars for other people. You want to make this country great again? You want to take care of America again? Return to the principles of conservatism. And conservatism has been, from the beginning, always will be, no matter how much these leftist neocons try to change it, an anti-war movement. Conservatives, Reagan, Nixon, Eisenhower were anti-war presidents. Reagan was passionately anti-war. He made peace with the Soviets. He was hated by the neocons. He warred with them. Do you care about America? Or do you care about every other country on the globe? You care about America. You want to save this country. Return to the conservative principles of anti-war and drive the Democratic Party back into the ocean where they belong.
He can't do that. Well, he did it.